Hey, Eric. You're on mute.
Oops. It's not like I live on Zoom or anything. I'm trying to figure out the fuzzy background that you've got, and I can't figure it out in the video settings. It's somewhere in there, but I can't find it.
Yeah, so I said it one night when I was at home for a meeting because I'm like, I don't know what
Yeah.
was in the background, probably my messy
Yeah.
kitchen,
Yeah.
and so now I don't know how to take it off. So I'm in my relatively clean office, and it's like I shouldn't be embarrassed by my background, but now it's just fuzzy permanently.
There
So
you go.
are we expecting anybody else from the guild, or is it just going to be you?
Lynette is wanting
Okay.
to join. She had,
Okay.
I was trying, I don't know why she's having trouble
Oh,
with
here
the
she
link.
is.
But
She's
okay,
coming in
cool.
right now. And then we're just waiting for, hi, Lynette.
Good morning.
Good to see you. We'll do introductions here in a minute. We're just waiting for our finance director, who's also on the board. So we'll
Okay.
give her a minute.
Sounds good.
So somebody caught me this morning and they're like, have you been crying? And I'm like, yeah, because my allergies are so bad. It's like,
Oh no.
even right now, I mean, my eyes are just watering like crazy. It's so bad out.
Yeah, you can see all
So
the pollen.
so it's not the emotion of the meeting that we're talking about.
A little bit, but not all.
Yeah, right, but not quite.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. How are you doing?
Good. We've
Before
come
the meeting
through.
gets called to order.
Yeah. COVID's been really good. I mean, not really good, but I mean, we're coming out of it, and knock on wood, we were fortunate. We did have, some people get sick, but overall, I think we had a nice balance between trying to keep the city still operating as best we could and still, manage to keep people safe, both citizens and our employees. So, it's a struggle, and it's pivoting, all the time. So it feels good though to not wear a mask. It feels great to, come in and be able to talk to people face to face and feel like we're reopening. I'll just introduce Christina Underhill. I don't think you guys have met her before. She's our Parks Rec Library and Golf Director. And I know, Christina, you can speak to that too. I mean, just the rec center is open. The Pirates Cove opens this weekend. Is it today? I think they might open.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so, there's no restrictions, there's no setting up schedules, you can just walk in like you used to.
Yeah,
wow.
That's going to be nice. Last year was tricky. So this year I think feels better and everybody's excited. So
yeah.
Did Pirates Cove ever open last year?
We did. Yeah. We were one of the very few aquatic centers to actually open, and we did fairly well, but we were under extreme limitations on how many people could come in, and we had to close for cleaning, and it was logistically it was tough, but we were open. So this year feels really good. I know a lot of the aquatic centers around the metro area have been calling and saying, how did you do it last year? And they're reverting back to what we did last year. And we're like, we're just opening our doors. There's no restrictions in place. So it's been interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
Lynette knows as well. Lynette knows as well. We have one of our kids is pretty medically fragile, so we've been one of the very quarantined people, and so now families, and so now we're kind of in the mode of, gosh, everybody's acting normal. We're still not acting normal, so we feel weirder than we did before sometimes. But she's, she probably will not get vaccinated just because of the potential of what it could do to her. And so then the question for us, we're trying to get a little more clarity on the whole non-symptomatic transmission once you are vaccinated. And, it seems like that's becoming pretty clear, but the CDC hasn't actually made a statement on that either. So that's what we're waiting on.
Well, and I want to apologize for rescheduling this meeting, but then, to that point, I think, we need to be thinking about like, it feels good to be back in person, but not everybody might still want to be back in person. So to be respectful of that and maybe ask the question, because I'm sorry, did we lose you?
No, you're still there. You're frozen. Your video is. We can hear you though.
Weird. Gosh, my face and these.
We got,
But yeah, so
we
this
got you back.
in-meeting protocol, what's that?
Right. We got you back. Yeah.
Okay, good. But yeah, you don't, I guess just to be, yeah, very respectful of people still are in different phases of coming back, if you will, or opening up.
Right. No, and I appreciate that. I'm doing meetings. I prefer doing them either outside or in large rooms, but I didn't know what conference room you had scheduled, but all the ones we've been in have always been pretty airy and roomy. So I wasn't too concerned. I would have probably stayed masked though.
Okay.
Just because of where we're at. But
yeah.
Okay. Run down and check where Jackie's at if she's in.
Oh, thank you. That would be great. Yeah. She said she was going to come. Sure, she's here today. So we had 2 new board members. Christina's Parks, Recreation, Library, and Golf, and then we have a new finance director as well, Jackie, who's the 3rd EAF board member. So
Okay.
And she's the city finance director, not just
correct.
for the
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I think she started in February, I want to say.
Okay.
So I don't know if you ever met Maria Sabata. She was our previous finance director. So she actually moved to Ohio with her family.
I think so. The name is familiar.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I was actually in a meeting with her, but emails at least. Yeah.
So how are you doing, Lynette?
Today I'm exhausted. It's been a hard week, but but overall doing well.
Good.
Yeah, just trying to gear up for getting more people in the doors here again, and yeah, enjoying the time of year, it's summer, and yeah, loving being outdoors more and taking advantage of the non-rainy days.
Yeah, exactly.
In the rainy days as well, because definitely need those. So
she's coming on. She assumed this was canceled, but
I'm sorry.
To Zoom.
Okay.
So
no. So Christina, where's your background picture from? I'm guessing a local park.
Yeah, that is that's going to be Duncan Park.
Oh
wait, no, that's Bellevue. Sorry. Like, which one did I put up today? Yeah. But yeah, that's our, we have 25 flower beds throughout the city, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So what park did you say this one was?
That's at Bellevue.
Bellevue. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, I ride through there all the time. I'll have to pay closer. Is that an existing flower bed? Like
that would be, that's not, I don't know if that's what it looks like this year. That was what we did last year.
Okay, I was gonna say it looks pretty mature yet to be.
Yeah.
This
no,
year.
They're just putting them in now. I think like Jason Park on the corner there just went in yesterday, and so they're just, we were waiting for the last freeze date. I guess in years past they've put in a little too early and they had some plant loss. So
yeah,
so everything's looking pretty now.
I was wondering if I could put a couple big planters outside the front door of the guild.
Okay. Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, Eric, can I buy a couple big planters and put them outside the guild?
Sure, expense them. Maybe Christina's team has some flowers left over.
Maybe. Can ask.
Well, I was glad to know, so I'm drinking from a Kaladi mug, and I was at Kaladi this morning buying the coffee for the guild, and they were actually able to use my reusable mug rather than giving me so
good.
I'm sorry, I totally misunderstood.
Sorry, Jackie.
Yeah.
I changed the meeting.
Happy Friday.
We also had another EAF meeting tentatively scheduled for yesterday on a different topic. And so I've been changing schedules all over the place. So I apologize. So I will officially call the meeting to order at 10:13 a.m. It's Friday, May 28th, 2021. And I am Maria DeAndre and the president of EAF, as well as the director of public works for the city of Englewood. And I'll ask because of the nature of this meeting, if you could, Christina and Jackie, just introduce yourselves as well.
Christina Underhill, Director of Parks, Recreation, Library, and Golf.
I'm Jackie Lowe. I'm the Director of Finance.
Okay. And Eric and Lynette, if you could introduce yourselves to the others.
Eric Curtis, Chairman of the Guild, which is the co-working space next to City Center.
And my name is Lynette Nice, and I am the Community Manager of the Guild.
And then we do have Michelle Chavez is our Business Support Specialist for Public Works, and she's the one recording the meeting and will be taking the minutes for the meeting as well. So she's online there. So thank you, everybody. So our first agenda item is public comment, and I don't see anybody present on the call. So just verify that there's nobody else on here. There's just the 6 of us, so we'll move on past public comment. And then our next item of business is we have some minutes to approve. So Jackie and Christina, I don't know if you had a chance to look at those, if you're comfortable. We were at all 3 of these meetings, so I have meeting minutes from March 30th, April 9th, and then April 19th, which was our annual meeting.
I'll move to approve items 3A, B, and C.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. All right. Any further discussion? Otherwise, take the roll. Director Underhill,
Yes.
Director Lowe,
Present.
and Director DeAndre. Yes. So all those minutes are approved. All right. So then we'll move on to new business, which is the Guild rent relief. And Eric, you had sent this letter back in November of last year, just talking about COVID basically in general. And we had talked about, and the EVE board had taken action to relieve your rent through March of this year, I believe it was. And then, so we wanted to, or excuse me, April.
I was
Sorry.
going to say, and then you extended it through May. So
Yes. I think it was March, and then
that
we
was-
extended it through May. And then we
Exactly.
set up this meeting in anticipation
That
to
was
talk
it.
about kind of where are you guys at, and then what's our
Yes.
next step? Because I think your original request was through July, I believe, of this year.
It was, and thank you so much
Mhm.
for the assistance, for the help in honestly helping keep the Guild alive. I'm not making a statement that it wouldn't be if without your help, but it has been tenuous. And the request even in December was certainly related to COVID, no doubt. It was also related to increasing apprehension that we were hearing through the grapevine about what was happening to City Center. And the irony was that we actually have had an uptick of people inquiring about space, but what they're looking for is private offices. And so we don't have any private office inventory to sell. The business decision for us is, do we invest anything additional into this space in the climate right now that City Center is in the midst of upheaval? So that it was a bit of a both and in terms of saying, we don't know whether we can, people are not inquiring too much, although Lynette, you can correct me, I think that's changing a bit. I was going to say not inquiring a whole lot about the communal co-working, which is what the co-working model has been based on historically. People are looking for space and community, but they want a private office. And so we're scoping out, we're pricing, I mean, we have a firm quote right now on adding additional private offices that don't involve construction. So in essence, they're cubicle type, but they actually have a lockable door on them. They don't go to the ceiling though, so that you're not impacting fire code issues. And the question for us is, are we gonna throw more capital at this and continue to develop the business in the midst of then sitting through the city, the meeting that Dan Parema did and his team a month ago about what's going to happen to City Center. And even if that building remains, if the entire square mile is a construction zone for 2.5 years, I don't know that we would survive that anyway. So there's just a whole bunch of question marks in terms of timeline even on that. And I know Dan can't give us a whole lot more clarity on that, but that's the full scope of kind of our questions and
Gotcha.
thinking right now, just to share that.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you still feeling like, you know, where is your level of business? And even let's assuming no modifications to the space, are you seeing an uptick where you would still want rent relief, or that's going to tail off here?
Well, I appreciate that. So I was in preparation for a meeting, I was looking at our numbers. 2019 really was our the best year we've had. We were running on average almost exactly 10,000 a month in membership revenue. So our total membership revenue that year was literally 120,000 plus a couple hundred. I mean, it was that almost precise. We're running 6,200 a month right now. So we're running at about 60. I mean, it's essentially 62% of where we were when we were fully, what I would say, fully operational. Our expenses are down because of the rent relief, but almost everything else is a fixed expense. I have no savings on utilities or, but frankly, on staff or on, well, I was going to say internet, that would be utilities. And so, we're in a spot where, Lynette, you could comment on the fact that business inquiries are really ticking up from our perspective. We've sold some new memberships just recently. The question for us is, well, and I might ask this, Maria, maybe you don't want to comment on this because it's outside of the scope of your role, but do you have any sense of timeline on the space or the city, sorry, not the city, EAF at any point calling the 9-month out clause that's in our lease? I know that it would be anecdotal. I know that you would not be making a statement that is, you know, somehow formalized. We're not changing the lease. I mean, we negotiated the lease. It has that 9-month out clause. It just for us makes further investment in the location really difficult because I can't amortize it over more than 9 months. And if I can't amortize it over more than 9 months, I'm making every business decision essentially in the short term, which then means I really can't add that office inventory that is probably precisely what I could sell.
Gotcha.
So that's just the kind of the dynamic that we're in.
Yeah, and honestly, you know, it's we didn't, and I think you expressed those same concerns even when we did the lease. Is that, you know, that gives you a shorter window, and the only reason we put that in there is because of the imminency, if you will, of these actions related to the EAF land. And so Dan would have the best, you know, interest or information on that. And it's not our intent is to, you know, pull that out from underneath you. It's really is tied to that larger redevelopment of the site and how that all those pieces fit together. So the intent would not be as, oh, we're gonna, you know, we want to get the guild out of there or anything like that. So it was truly about how do we be able to end the lease that's not a 5-year term. Because we know that this redevelopment, there is potential there. So I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer for you than that. But that is the situation that we find ourselves in, is how do you continue to invest in the business, knowing that this could be a very short term. But I think also Dan has expressed interest in finding other locations for you too. But of course, that doesn't help if there's actual physical construction dollars invested in the space where you are now.
Yeah, exactly. That I then still have to amortize, even if we then talk about a build out of a new space. It's just adding to my yes. Or Jackie, sorry, I'm not running the meeting. Forgive me.
Oh no, I might have some information for you.
Okay.
Because I'm involved in the DDA discussion. Our plan is to put debt issuance to the ballot in November this year. We're probably looking for 75 million or 80 million, because we put 80 million to the ballot last year. It's an election year, so it didn't pass. And we do not know if this will pass again.
Right.
Without that 80 million approval from the voters, there's no construction renovation. So
that is really helpful clarification, because I think that one thing that was a bit confusing for me, even in the online public meeting or whatever that thing was called, that the team did, was I had heard that it hadn't passed last year, but what I wasn't understanding was whether they were still moving forward on construction, whether they were going to fund it some other way, and that was unclear to me. So that is not the case. Okay.
So the DDA did get established. There was just no funding mechanism for it. Is that correct, Jackie?
Correct.
So there is a DDA now.
Yes, because they have to promote, talk to the business, talk to the developers, but there's no approval yet. We won't know this until November. If the voters that we have 1,400 probably voters in the downtown area, so we do not know.
And that would be a special election then in November. Yeah. Interesting. And even if then it's approved, we'd probably still be looking at a year to break ground. I mean, nothing is going to move very fast in a situation like that.
No, you think about 80 million, but it doesn't mean we are going to start renovation by using the 80 million. It's based on the projects. We could probably draw down 3 million for one project. So that 80 million or 75 million need to be approved by voters first. Then we will select different sections. May not be your area, because I walked by your office a couple times. Your office is very close to Civic Center. I doubt the construction might start from this section. Yeah.
The other action we're taking too is we had issued to basically renovate this building that we're in, the Civic Center building. We had issued what's called certificates of participation. We refinanced those in 2015, and they're due for, I think they run out in 2023, where we can, it's basically like a mortgage where you pay it off in 2023. We're going to pay that off early this December with no penalty, just again, to kind of help facilitate, moving forward with that redevelopment in some fashion. And that might then, and what we're starting to talk about is dissolution of EAF in some manner. So EAF was established with the intent of being this nonprofit to oversee, the whole EAF grounds, the 30 to some acres. And so that would take that group, us, essentially out of that mix. And then the land would revert back to the city, most likely, as well as your lease. So how that affects the guild, I don't know, but I wanted to make you aware of that.
Okay.
Would Public Works still manage it in some way? Who would own a lease like ours at that point? I mean, the city would just have to decide at that point, probably, right?
Yeah, so your lease is right now with us or with the city, or no, it's with EAF.
No, it's with EAF.
Yeah, so we'd have to probably revert that back to the city somehow.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
And just similarly, the lease with Miller Weingarten, which is the larger building, is between EAF and them. So then you're a subtenant to us. So all of those legal documents, if you will, would have to be reevaluated as part of that dissolution process. Yeah.
Sense. Okay. So that is on the radar potentially for the end of this year, or at least something that you will be discussing next year after the payoff of the
correct. Yeah.
The notes or whatever it is on the city building. Okay. Lynette, did you have any thoughts? Were you going to say something?
No, you're asking all the same questions, and yeah.
Okay. I would love to make a request. I do not see it as reasonable that you would continue to rebate the entire lease. I mean, we are operating again. We are thinking about kind of we made it through COVID reopening. kind of thing and splash. I would ask whether the EAF board might consider, as we, I mean, even as I'm thinking now, and our board needs to meet and take this information. What we have said is if we had a trajectory of 18 to 24 months where we knew that we could kind of plan around that, we would do some investment. I don't need to know the whole 5 years, but if it's 3 months, that's a totally different thing. And our conversation now is giving me a different sense of, nobody's getting ready to pull some kind of trigger and I'm going to get a letter from EAF in 3 months saying, sorry, it was great while it lasted. Which means that we would want to kind of potentially invest some more, do a re-grand opening type of event. Would the board consider potentially like a 50% lease or something for a couple of months as opposed to going from 0 to 60 right away? Is that something that for 3 or 4 or 5 months you might consider going forward? I don't know, maybe I'll need to go into executive session to discuss. But that would just be maybe our request as we say, okay, well then how are we going to crank this back up? Is that a reasonable request?
If you don't mind, let me ask you some question, Eric.
Sure.
You know the federal PPP loan, we have round 1 and round 2. The money you receive from federal PPP loan can be used to pay rent. So have you applied for those loans or you just ask landlord to abate the rent? So I wanted to see what efforts you have done.
Yeah, the PPP yes, we did. We did have that, and in fact, we don't have a whole lot of personnel costs. So it was only, I mean, the lease was the big piece of that, and the
that
PPP
can be
loan,
used to pay, for rent, utilities.
and that is what, right, and that is what helped us significantly through the early part of the pandemic. We didn't, like when I made the request in December. You're going to be taxing my mind now because I'm not our finance director. I'm not running the books month by month, but whether we had used it down or exactly how we had utilized that, was there a time limit on? No, it was the PPP amount was based on payroll, was it not? The total amount available was based on payroll. And because our payroll is so, you could use it for other expenses, but our payroll is quite low. And so what we received was not a whole lot of money. Maybe that's my recollection.
I suggest you talk, I want to know because there's a rent portion and there's a second round available. So I just want to know what efforts you have done to exhaust all the resources available to small business owners.
Yeah, and I could report on that in writing in terms of second round.
Yeah, and also I read through the letter, seems you apply for some business grants. Our community development is offering grants as well. Have you reached out to them? See if you might be eligible for some of the grants?
We received several grants. I can't, I will get emails from Darren every once in a while, and I've gotten several of them, so then we can't reapply for them anyway, but I couldn't tell you, I don't have in my mind which ones we received and which ones not. I know that one that hit our radar just recently was a marketing grant. I don't know if that was Economic Development Office or not. Lynette, you received that at the Guild email for $1,000, but in any event, that wasn't going to help us with lease. That was just marketing.
Okay.
But we are looking at that, yeah.
Yeah, so it might be good to maybe answer those questions and then we can talk internally. We probably also need to loop in the city manager and probably community development as well, Dan and Brad Power. Just to talk about, one thing is I'll throw out to you guys as just an idea, if So it seems like the business model is still working. So absent COVID, but it'd be more about the individual offices. Is probably where the pivot point is to, maybe that's what people want more than the open space. So
Right.
just spitballing ideas, if there was another location where you could invest money in office, individual offices that would give you that longer return time, where you wouldn't have this fear of having to move, would that be of interest to you? And that might be something for you guys to talk about too. You don't have to give me the answer right now.
Yeah. My answer immediately is yes. The economics have been a challenge in terms of adding to the build out we haven't even paid off yet on the space that we're in. That has simply been the economics, because while the business model I think is working, we're cash positive. It's not knocking our socks off either, just to be fully transparent. And so there is that challenge just from our perspective. And co-working as an industry is going through that. I mean, WeWork hasn't closed down as the big kahuna, right? We're a local, and there are a lot of local co-working spaces in the Denver area. But WeWork has closed a number of their locations for sure, for many of these same stresses, let alone COVID. Yeah, so I mean, if there are locations even that are on your radar potentially, we'd love to hear about them. Very willing to chart out how it could work. Not gonna lie, what we dream about is the upstairs of the building that we're in.
Yeah.
I mean, the 24-hour fitness. Now, if another fitness center goes back in there, holy smokes, we don't want to be underneath.
I mean, that's the silver lining is we don't have the what do you call the weights dropping all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, that has been amazing.
Christina and Jackie don't know the background, but yeah, so when 24 Fitness was active, they had their weight room in the very back space above the guild. And so people would, they're lifting and then they drop the weights and it'd be like, boom, like this.
Like thunderstorm in the building.
Oh, but you heard through the whole
building. To be under a treadmill, so I would just hear people running all day long.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that is a benefit.
That's one good thing that's happened, I guess.
Oh,
that's right.
That was definitely as much as I felt bad for 24-hour fitness losing some business. I was certainly happy for us. So.
Okay. Jackie or Christina, do you have any questions? I know I probably have more history, so I'm not, with the guild. I don't know if you have any questions you have, or just about their business model, how it works, with the memberships. If you might be of interest to just explain that a little bit.
Sure. So the business model, in essence, of co-working, ours is no different, is connected to absorbing the risk of a long-term lease and having shorter-term tenants that join as members. We do not sign leases with our subtenants. That is, they're specifically not tenants. I mean, that we're explicit about that. What they're doing is joining as members of a membership business. And the benefit of membership is, at different levels, either having access just during business hours or 24/7 access. Some people have what we call a dedicated desk. That's $300 a month, where no one else uses their desk, but it's still in an open area. And then the dedicated offices. The offices are really the inventory that we need more of, but of course are capital intensive because they require build out. And so what we're investing, what I mean by that is time and research in right now is this idea of modular walls that we can build modular offices with. They're taller than cubicles, so they don't feel like a cubicle farm. They're like 7 or 8 feet tall, and then I think we can add a 2-foot extension on them. But neither do they have the total security of a locked office with the walls going to the ceiling. And
Mhm.
the vast majority of co-working members aren't leaving, valuables in their offices anyway. So that's not what they're looking for. They just don't want people messing with their stuff.
Yeah,
For a little bit of privacy in terms of, phone
Right.
calls and
personal, yeah,
Right.
conversations
Sound.
and such.
Yes.
Yeah.
they're kind of,
True.
I've heard somebody call them officals.
Wow.
And I like your business model by using the word membership that tenant. You think about a low cost gym, the Choose, the Planet Fitness, you pay top $10 per month and no contract. In fact, a lot of the facilities can only accommodate like 300 members at one time, but they have a membership base, 3,000. Do you know how long it takes those members to cancel their membership, even if they don't use it, because only $10 a month, 18 months. So actually, you have a very, very savvy business model. You need to tap into that. If this model works for Choose and Planet Fitness, that should work for you. So just tap into that mentality. They don't cancel membership. I don't know how much you charge per month.
Well, our membership is high enough that it
At
probably
$10.
is on people. Yeah. I mean, our basic membership is $150 a month. So that's not
that's much higher. Yeah.
So people are not missing that when it's coming out of their account.
Yeah.
But
I like the concept. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what type of people rent from you? Like what type of business is in there? Like what are your members?
Yeah.
You know that when they come in and sign up?
Hey, by the way, Christina, come on by and work out of the guild whenever you feel like it. Like more people in the space makes it feel good. And we've always said that to the city. I mean, when Eric Keck was the manager and we opened the space, we were saying, send your staff over here to work during the day if y'all want, because it just creates a bit of a buzz when there are more people there as well. So anyway, sorry, but go ahead, Lynette.
Yeah.
So
it's a variety. So for example, often we'll get people maybe who work for a company that's based in California or on the East Coast, but they're a web developer or do coding. So they just want a place to work from besides their kitchen table. We do have a small startup here that's renting a couple of offices. They do work with Parkinson's patients, kind of a informing patients of what their types of level of care is available to them. We have a organization that does fundraising for nonprofits. We have a roofing business. And then we have a couple of people that just have their own business, such as marketing, insurance, or things like that. So you really get a variety of industries represented.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. Okay.
Yeah.
So how's your pricing compared to other similar company, your competitors? You charge $125 per month. How does that compare to others?
So we're probably, if you compare us with the Denver market, co-working spaces, specifically in Denver, we're priced lower.
Okay.
Partly because there's not as much demand here, and just the economic, what's the word am I looking for? Socioeconomic,
demographics of the
demographics here. Thank you. In the area, but I mean, pretty competitive. I mean, you guys are aware of Cobalt is probably our main competitor, so to speak, in the area. I mean, I think our prices are pretty similar. I guess it kind of depends on the product being offered. So yeah, but in general, our prices tend to be a little bit lower.
We haven't really raised, I mean, we've had our same pricing scheme since we opened now 4.5 years ago. We've wondered whether raising would be appropriate, and then we essentially realized that it's not. I mean, we could test that, but the reality is we're not selling our inventory now. We have sold our office inventory. That's been great. Yeah. But people are pretty price sensitive. and there is plenty of competition. Cobalt has remained open during COVID as well, which is the I don't want to say only other space in Englewood. It's certainly the other long-lasting space in Englewood. I don't know that there's not another one.
Yeah.
Any other questions that would be helpful?
None for
Yeah,
me.
thanks for asking.
It's good conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And just so, for Jackie and Christina, I'm part of the co-working model and definitely a part of our just heartbeat and vision is to build community among the people that come in here. So it's not just, just a place to go to work, but that it's also a place where somebody knows your name. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the old television show Cheers. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. So that's part of my goal as the community manager, is for people to be in a place where they feel somewhat known, to the degree that they want to be, because I will get in your business and try to get to know you if you let me. So, but along with that, just building a sense of community and belonging. And eventually, I mean, with also not just for the sake of us, but then, I mean, eventually somehow I'd love to be with the community here, be affecting change in the community. So not just be a self-centered, inward-looking community, but also be looking outwardly to be a positive presence in the community around us.
That has been the passion since our inception. And Lynette, good job bringing it back, because it wasn't top of mind right now. But in terms of our passion for creating community and the concept of collaborative co-working, the hope always, when we were meeting with friends at the city, even during the lease negotiation initially, was always top of mind. Our goal is to draw leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners, and business people into city center of Englewood. That's always been our goal. I think we've struggled a bit more than we probably thought 4.5 years ago when we were opening the doors, in terms of maybe drawing as many people as we expected and selling as many memberships as we had planned. I don't know exactly what the reason is for that, although when Denver co-working owners meet up, and there is a Denver co-works group that meets semi-regularly, they're all experiencing similar issues. It's interesting that when we opened the Guild, there were a number of co-working spaces in the works right then that all kind of opened at similar time, and so there was a bit of just a dynamic in the business model that has probably evened out over the last couple of years, and a number of spaces have closed during COVID. And so I'm hopefully optimistic that as people come back into co-working, those of us who made it through the pandemic are actually going to see a business uptick. That's my hope. That's our expectation in continuing to run and operate, and still with that double bottom line, honestly, of saying absolutely has to be a functioning business, but we also want to impact this community. That's been our goal since we opened. So.
And I think, that's what was of interest to the city as well. We had this long-term lease, which was established for the very purpose of trying to energize this space in and around the Civic Center. So having more people just in general in the area, leads to energy, excitement, and, increased feelings of safety and all that. So I've noticed, even with Nixon's being shut down, that's really a negative, because, people in the Civic Center don't walk over there for a coffee.
Yep.
So there's not as many people out in front of Nixon's or along that street or in the circle there by the fountain, because there's just less activity on the street. And so, supporting the Guild to have those just bodies here is a good thing. So, and part of that mission of what we're trying to do in and around this area.
Mhm.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate the questions.
All right. So I think we each have some work to do to go back, talk a little bit more, and then maybe we can reconvene in a few weeks, talk again, and see if we can maybe, yeah, just get back to you with an answer. And maybe there's also some longer term solutions that we might be able to brainstorm around.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me know when works for you guys.
Sounds good. Okay.
Well, thank you. Nice to
Christina,
meet you,
Jackie,
Christina
and
and Jackie.
Yeah, nice meeting you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
and I say, and do feel free to stop by sometime. Yeah, I'd love to,
I will.
at the very least, just show you around and
Mhm.
give you a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Great.
It's a fun space, definitely. So good. All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Yes.
It is 10:49 and I'll adjourn this meeting at this time. Thank you.
Great.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend,
Thank
everybody.
you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.